welcome back to Reloading Journey. A little different episode here today. I'm here with Will Areni from FW Arms.
How's it going?
He came by. He's going to show us some of the products they have, key ways of setting them up on the X10, and then, like I said, just go over some of their products and go from there.
Sounds good.
So first off, FW Arms. I did a little research, and I know that's your dad, Frank, and Will.
That is true, yep.
Arms.
Yep.
I saw you said you let your dad be the president.
Yep.
So I saw an interview you
he's
did.
Really, he's been a huge, instrumental, person to have there helping us out there, with, refining some of the designs. Just, he came up with our prime time unit for our other products for, some of our Dylan offerings.
Right on.
He's an extremely talented person. So, wanted to make sure that he was very valued and shown that he was valued.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Father-son deal.
Yeah.
Me and my son do a lot of stuff together like that. I think that's awesome. Why FW Arms? Why did you get started? How did you get started?
Okay, so in about 2016 or 17, I was able to pick up a Dylan Super 1050. And I was cranking along with that, and I noticed that if I went too fast, I'll just use this pin as an example. The pin here with the wobble would end up on the outside of the case. And I kept breaking pins, ruining brass. Granted, it wasn't great brass at the time, it was just range pickup, but still, I didn't have a lot. I wanted to save as much, and buying a pin for a dumb reason like that, didn't want to do that. So I picked up an auto drive from Mark 7. This is when Mark 7 was still their own company. They weren't purchased by Lyman's yet. I thought that would fix everything because, it's automated. These guys are pretty smart. They're bright guys. They probably figured this out.
Well,
at the time, could run 2,400 cases an hour. That's how old this particular drive was. They run about 35 now.
geez.
That's on pistol brass. That's what no one tells you.
Oh,
2,400 on pistol brass. Rifle brass, no, that wobbles problem still there. So after breaking some more Dylan pins, Dylan Universal Decapper, went to a Lee Universal Decapper, tried making my own pins for both of them, just couldn't get this drive to do 223 brass at anything over like 1,600 cases per hour.
still a lot, but
Still a lot.
not
but
what you want.
When I see it and I can go faster, I'm irritated. Why can't I go faster? So I'm like, you know what this needs? I just got to find a decapper that has a little shuttle on the end. It just needs to grab the neck and pull it back to center. So I look online. I can't find anything. I see decappers. And this is, in the 2017 range. If I can see decappers, they're like $70, $75. And I'm thinking, this isn't going to solve what I need to do. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to spend that kind of money if it's not actually going to fix anything.
Yeah.
So one morning, I was like, all right, I'll just do this myself. So I took a piece of 7/8 threaded rod that we had, and I took a drill, put it in the lathe, took a drill, and that's the first spacer there.
Let's switch sides real quick.
Yeah,
so
here.
you can get it over that.
So I took a piece of threaded rod and drilled it out here.
Oh, geez.
Yep. And didn't drill through all the way. Put a little bore in there and made this little shuttle here. And it's got a little conical section here. And I dropped it down in there. And I didn't particularly have a spring long enough exactly. And I wanted to get this thing working, so I made a little spacer. So we don't need the spacer. Then I made...
That's another piece of all thread?
Oh yeah, this is just another piece of 1/4-20 threaded rod that I had, and I just put a little pin profile on there because the Lee pins, they're soft steel. And then I made a spring retainer and a little cap. And I was like, all right, let's see what happens here. So I put it all together here, screwed it on down, and I'll be damned, I got this thing running, and for the next, I don't know, I think I had about 5,000 pieces of brass. It just went.
Just worked.
Just worked. It just 2,400.
Seems like a
paces
simple
per-
little,
And I was like,
you know,
so I was like, okay, I'm not a particularly smart person. I understand that. I get along, but I can't be the guy that this is a dumb idea. This is a ridiculously stupid, dumb
Easy.
idea.
It
I can't
should
be the
seem-
first one to think of this. So I start going around. I can't find anything. I'm like, okay, this. Now we talk about patenting. Talking with my dad, and he's like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, man, I really think there's a lot of guys out there reloading. I think this might be a thing. So he's like, okay. So we go through the patent pending process. Like, okay, we can get the pending on there, and we at least get our foot in the door for the line. We're first in line then at least. So all right, so we get patent pending on the unit. So I start sending samples out to brass processors. So high volume commercial brass processors. And all of a sudden, we get a lot of feedback back like, we really like this idea. Can we change these things? So we changed some of the pin profiles, some of the pin construction. We used to have a full size pin, just one complete unit. They wanted changeable tips to keep the cost down. Totally, I get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Started making changeable tips and just guide rods that they can put in. And we went through a couple different revisions. It was amazing to see the feedback on these things, like the amount of time that we saved these processors and money, because they were running faster, they were breaking less pins, which means they had less downtime.
Yeah, and messing up less brass.
And messing up less brass. So we had guys that are like, yeah, we expect about 10%, 8 to 10% scrap just from knickknacks and quality
And
control.
if you can drop that 3%,
Yeah,
4%,
and it went
that's
down.
huge.
It just bottomed out.
Wow.
And so it was just great. So we went through a couple different versions. We listened to a lot of feedback from our customers, and we turned it into what we have inside these boxes now.
So this started it all.
That
This
started it all. Yep.
Piece of all thread with all thread and a little cone.
Yep.
That's where you started.
That's where we started.
Now let's see where
This
you're
is
at.
where we're at. So I always like opening these particular boxes up with a knife because it just keeps the box in a different shape, better shape. We're moving back to a plastic box, like a telescoping plastic. We use those in
Where
the
you
first,
can keep them.
and it's just, I think, a nicer presentation. So pop this sucker open here, and then we have, that's a dynamic hold down. We can talk about that. Probably should have looked at the end of what these are. We're going to actually set your press up with 2 of these dynamic hold downs. One for swage and one for priming.
Now, from what I've seen, do you have the tallest? Are there ones out there that are taller? I've never seen any. You seem like you have the biggest.
Okay, so funny
biggest
story
guys.
about that. This is the standard decapper right here. We needed this length. There are some other companies out there that have, in my opinion, copied, and again, that's my opinion, and I am not a lawyer, that's just an opinion from some asshole, copied our shuttle design. I think it's mighty silly, but there's this obsession with having a short die in your decapping station. I don't get that.
Yeah, what's the size matter?
We're not flying
If your
planes over
machine
this
can- yeah.
thing. What makes our unit work so much better is our spring that's inside. The spring drives the shuttle. So you're not having the weight of the shuttle, or you're not having the weight of the shuttle drive it down. You can get a little, you're decapping dirty brass. There's crap in there.
Yeah.
That can get hung up. The shuttle is driven by the spring. So we needed the length in here so the spring can have the proper compression so you don't blow your spring out after every 5,000 rounds.
Good.
So we have guys going hundreds of thousands of rounds on one spring. I can count on one hand how many of these internal springs I've needed to replace. I can count on like 2 fingers how many of the internal springs for the popper I've needed to replace.
Wow.
So that's how robust they are. The hold downs here, they got longer because we added the dynamic portion on there. Now the dynamic portion here, all this started out as Berdan Sentry for this. So that's actually coming out here in a couple months. We're gonna be able to take this housing here, and it's gonna have a sensor on it that when you hit a Berdan, if you have an automated machine, it can turn it off. We're gonna try to set it up with a beeper also. So if you're coming along with on a Frankfurt Arsenal, beep, when you come along with a Berdan. So it's a real easy, you just unscrew it. We have a static version of this, put the cap on, and then we're gonna look into actually shrinking this up so we can use these housings for Berdan Sentry. We might be able to do a shorter version of the dynamic hold down. But again, it's the first time I've heard of somebody being just obsessed with how short they are.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
Unless my machine just, like if you're running on a single press and it just
Right,
won't
on
fit
the
in
yoke
there,
style, I get that.
but 99% of the time,
Most of the guys that are running like the yoke style presses, they have I feel that they're doing a lot more precision, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They tend to know what they're doing, and so
they
they have their setup. They have their thing, and I respect that. So we're not trying to get everybody in the market. There's plenty of market for everybody. But that being said, we try to cater for something for everybody. So what we got here is the Universal Auto Center Shuttle Decapper and 2 dynamic hold downs. And we actually have a kind of a newer product here that is the intro decapper, because we know that if you're just getting started in reloading, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And who wants to throw down, these are $70.
Yeah.
$70, that it solves a problem though. It's not just something that's beefier. These are $35 shipped, and you get 4 pin tips total. So you get 1 pin tip, 1 shaft with standard 80,000 flash holes, and you get 1 for like Lapua brass. And it's nice on this guy because it has like the Lee Universal, it has a collet system, and we can just drop our pin in here, and we've laser engraved some lines on here so you can always get the same torque, so you don't have to have a torque wrench. And the nice thing about this is we've matched the taper on the inside of the die here to the taper of the ER16 collet. So when you screw your die down, you screw a Lee Universal down, you're going to see that pin tip do this. You screw this down, just straight down.
It's just sweet.
So another improvement that we made from the original version and throughout the different upgrades that we've made is we put a tool steel nose on our decapper. What happened is you have a case jump shell plate. It ends up sideways, and then your decapper comes and hits it, and it's just going to start bashing the crap out of the nose,
messing up your die.
Of your die. It looks crappy. We found that the shuttle was getting interfered because you get a ding in it, and the shuttle couldn't move properly. So people would have to kind of file or grind that out. We decided to put a tool steel nose on there, and it solved that problem right away.
Right on.
So you get all that in this guy for just right under $70, and then we also included the adjustable popper, so you can have an aggressive pop, or you can have a not aggressive pop. And
So you're not messing with the rest of the die, rest of the machine,
Yep.
primers or anything.
Yep.
Awesome. And then what's that there?
So we had to find a way to get around the censors of social media companies. They're pretty anti-2A, and so you get something in there reloading oriented, and they kind of lose their crap. So we came up. We have some coffee. It's legit. It's pretty good stuff, and we just call it. This is our Auto Center Decapper blend, and we can advertise the coffee. Come for, stay for the dies.
Yeah, no, it's genius.
Yeah. So, but yeah, all this is available on the website right now, fwarms.com. And yeah, so
Check it out.
Yeah, we should probably get started setting your machine up then. So what I like to do is I like to bring my nut a little further up. We pre-screw it on there so you don't have to mess with it. Just, bring it up a ways. And we'll go over to your press here, and I'm going to take a piece of non-decapped. Trying to get it in here so we can all see that it's not decapped here. And I'll make sure that this is, unfortunately, it's not a Berdan. We could show you that we actually have a pretty good tip. All right, so we can put it in the machine, and what we're going to do is for the press, we're going to bring it all the way down. And then we're going to take the die here, and we're just going to start screwing it in there. Now, there are classes of threads on all these machines here. Frankfurt Arsenal actually used a really nice tight thread class, and we had our class thread that we use is the next step looser. So we actually had some issues with our nose pieces were about 1/1000 too big, and they wouldn't go into the tool head. If you're one of those customers, just contact me. We've just been swapping them out. We don't really hassle you. So we're going to screw this guy down here, and the point is, it's not a Frankfurt Arsenal issue. It was just an issue with some of our nose pieces. That's been alleviated. So there may be some floating around out there. We haven't sold that particular die here for probably 6 months. So we're going to screw this die down until it starts to decap. We're just going to keep screwing it down. You're going to hear it pop. One of these days. There you go.
There we go.
All right, you have the primer come out. All right, we're going to screw it all the way down till it bottoms out, and then we're going to bring it back up 2 turns. So you can just take something like, look at one of the letters that's laser engraved on here. All right, 1, 2, bring it back down. And we're going to tighten it up there. And if you got a 1-inch wrench around here, so
I don't. That's something I gotta
should have brought a wrench for you.
I've got channel locks.
Now
I've got.
We'll just tighten that down. That's fine. All right, so you got your case in there. So we're going to come back to the next station here. All right, so I am actually unfamiliar with this press. I do not have one in my own facility. So next station, I believe, is a secondary decap station.
Decap and sizing.
And you could do a sizing there.
Sizing.
All right, good. So I believe the next station is swage.
Yes.
After that. All right, so let's get the case in the swage position. With the dynamic hold down, the guide rod can move, and it's under spring pressure here. So you're always going to have the case held down in an absolute position. So same thing, we're going to bring the tool head all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to screw the nut up so we can actually get it in there. I'm going to put the die in there. If I can, there. Oh, there is is that a ding? There we go. There we go. All right, so we're going to screw this down until it stops. You're not going to be able to hand crank through this spring. It ain't going to happen. So we're going to screw that down.
So you get a
until
good
it stops.
forearm workout.
Oh yeah.
While you're going.
Oh yeah.
Also.
So we're at the bottom there. We're going to lift this up like so, and we are going to go down again. Take a measurement of kind of take note of where a character is. We're going to go down about half a turn. And we'll lock it in place there. I think this is all the way down. There we go. Yeah, so now go ahead and give that handle, just bring it up just so it relaxes. There you go. Now, if you bring it back down, that last little oomph, that's the spring in here compressing.
Yeah, you can feel it because it's not the machine locking, because you can still see the head go up and down.
Right.
But
so
it feels like cam over.
it's
It's not cam over on the machine.
Right, it's actually the dynamic hold.
Wow, yeah. Because normally you don't want this because that means your head's stopping
Right.
and you're forcing it past, but yeah.
Right. So you're going to go down to your normal machine, the bottom stroke. So now that case is held in there, and each case after that's going to be held in there at the same exact position. So when you go to prime, it's going to be the same setup.
Swage.
Yeah. So your swage is going to be good if you need to swage, and I assume your swage bar is already set up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we can do now for priming is we'll bring that case in to place here, and we're going to bring this in. There we go. We're starting to prime. That didn't feel like a prime.
Yeah, and I noticed there no.
Yeah, because there was no case in there.
Well, I mean no. No cam over.
Yeah. So
So you can tell it was absolutely just the.
So it's the same setup here for the priming. So you put a case in there, and it doesn't matter which case you start on because they're all going to be held down no matter what their internal dimensions are. And that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to accommodate each of the various internal geometry dimensions of each case, which can vary from the case head, where the primer starts to go in, to the point where the powder sits. That can vary, I think on Sammy, some cases it can vary up to 20 thousandths. Most manufacturers try to keep it with, well within some range, but...
So now you're talking, if it's 20 thousandths lower, that means your primer is not going to, the case is going to ride up. And
Right.
Your primer's
So
gonna be,
your primer seating depth, it's
be
reliant on how much flex is in your shell plate.
yeah.
So once your shell plate stops flexing, then the primer goes in the rest of the way. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll screw it down another half turn and lock it up there, and you're golden. All right, let's go ahead and get this guy out and see what's going on here. Oh, there you go. It's a really nice, it primed
Yeah.
very nicely. Now, you should be able to get your primer consistency, your depth of primer, really nice. We're running at about 3 thousandths at our place. So
3 thousandths.
3 thousandths consistency from one to the next. So
I gotcha.
I'll set this. Some guys like to get the primers in there as deep as they can, which is cool. Totally go for it. I go about 7 thousandths below flush.
And that's what I was working towards with 9mm. I haven't started. I want to start doing 223,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. We're setting this up, but that's what I shoot for is 7 thousandths.
Yeah.
That's what I was on the 9mm.
So, and that's actually really important for if you do like bench rest rifle, because you want to take out every single variation that you can control. You can't control weather. You can't control, so for some extent you can control your trigger pull. Everything that comes to the brass and what we can do to make everything consistent, that's what we're about. And we want to make sure that you can do that in an automated or on a progressive press. So high precision shooting should not be a single stage or turret stage shooter's game. It can be a progressive shooter's game also.
Now, what are the numbers on here?
So that's our motto. Process, load, shoot,
Okay.
repeat.
All right. I thought it was settings on the head, but okay.
Nope, that's our motto. That's the only way that you can get good.
Yeah.
Just repetition. Process, load, shoot, repeat. Process, load, shoot, repeat. That's the FW Arms way.
Love it. Love it. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and
Yeah, drop some cases in there, let you run it. And
here somewhere.
we were actually looking, looks like our primers are good here. On some of the other presses that have a little, a slightly different primer feed system, we were noticing that the pop in our decapper was so aggressive that it was actually flipping the new primers upside down for people that wanted to do the one-pass loading. which we took that seriously. So we put an adjustable popper adjustment in there. You take a 3/32 hex key and loosen this little set screw here, and then you take a 5/32 hex key, and you can screw this up or down. I believe we always set them at max pop when we're assembling them, and then just tighten this guy up when you get the desired level of pop, and you are good to go. So let's just
We'll keep an eye on that. Let's see if it.
But we should be pretty good.
Love that sound.
That's when you hear that sound, you know your money. Now, depending on how the primer is in there, believe it or not, sometimes you actually don't get a pop. You get a pop when it's crimped. But if they're just put in there and no crimp, sometimes you don't get. Yeah, make sure he came out. So if this happens, so this is a guy, he was pretty heavy in there. This is not a problem. You can see it domed first.
Yeah.
So all we'll do, oh, he's coming loose a little bit too. We really need a wrench here. Just
Yeah.
drop him down, another half turn,
So that may have been.
and he'll be good.
That's something I gotta get is. I had a crescent wrench. Huh. Well, I hate to put channel locks on them.
Yeah, I know.
It mars it up,
Yep.
but
Yeah, that's, if you know it's clicking, you know you're cooking. All right, we got to hang up here. Oh, you're not in Nick's all the way. There you go.
so that's. I don't know what. So that was on the machine.
Yeah, but it's not prime.
Well, that one's primed.
Yeah, it wasn't the primer.
No. So let's see.
I'll get this guy out.
That one's
So this one's
primer.
all right. So it looks like his crimp was not out all the way. So
So that the swage may not be.
the swage may not be deep enough.
know.
This is,
And like I said, I was set up on 9mm.
Yeah.
With different dies and stuff. So.
yeah. This is all right. So if you're, let's see if we can get this here. This, believe it or not, I'm on the Reddit reloading subreddits, and we're always trying to be helpful there. There's about, on average, a post a week almost on my primers are getting crushed. What am I doing wrong? It's something that people really are not aware of. I wasn't aware of it until I became aware of it. You got to remove the crimp.
Yeah.
You have to remove the crimp. And you can get primer go gauges that will
Yeah.
actually, if you have one, you'll make sure it's consistent. You got it right here.
Go, no go.
So you go ahead, just make sure that you're good to go. And you make sure that the crimp's out, but this is classic, has not been.
Yeah. And that's something.
Yeah.
Like I said, this was set up with 9mm, and I haven't come across a whole lot of. I know it's more of an issue on
Yeah.
223.
So anything that's
And-
been military, they want everything crimped or staked.
Yeah.
You'll run across some 9mm, old 45 ACP. You might run across some of that. If you notice that, let's get another case in here. Quick here. If you want to, you can always set your swage die slightly deeper if you find that you haven't set it deep enough and that your shell plate's getting pushed up. So you can see how it's getting pushed up there slightly.
Yeah.
The die should push it back down. So
We have to cycle it again.
that's the one I want to see here. So what I want to do here.
See how it was.
Yep. So you're good there. It's going. So we can actually put this back up. But just for the heck of it, we can always take this down another half turn. That gives you about 80 thousandths worth of compression in that particular section here. So yeah, why don't you throw him back in there, and we'll just go ahead and hit him again. Now you'll feel this is going to be a little stiffer,
Yeah.
but we'll go ahead and let's get him out. And we are swaged.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I got a primer.
Got a primer stuck.
When you don't have something over the
Yep.
priming, I do have.
Oh, that's the one I just put back in. I
Oh.
was going to run them again.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you don't want to set these too deep, because what happens is you'll bottom out on the curve
And
of the
then
pin,
start pushing.
and you're putting a lot of torque on the guide rod then, and that's when you start to break pins and guide
All right.
rods. So there you go.
There we go.
So yeah, mess with your, so you'll see your plate flex a little bit as you're coming up, and then it gets pushed back down.
Yeah.
That's what you want. Same thing with prime. Make sure there's a primer in there. So we got our no go, and we got our go, and that's a nice pocket.
So now we'll throw that in
Yep.
and run it over the prime.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we're a little tight on,
A little tight, yeah.
which could be, again, I need to set this is a whole new setup, set my priming depth
Yep.
versus on this. So, if you want to do that real quick, if you want to set it up or you just,
I'm gonna let you, because I don't have one of these in my facility,
Yeah.
so I'm not familiar with their function.
yeah. All right, now we got the swaging should be set correct.
We'll hear our pop.
Here comes the swage. Yeah, that looks a lot smoother. Now let's see how.
Oh yeah, that's money.
Yeah.
So if anything, I would actually set your primer depth a little deeper now. What you can do to measure these is you can get like a 1/8 inch. You can buy mics or calipers specifically for this. I take a 1/8 inch ball bearing, and I'll just, you put a little piece of tab of grease on there, put the ball bearing on there, take a caliper, and take a measurement across the ball.
And then take it off.
Take it off, take a measurement across your case here, do the math, and then figure out how deep you are.
I was doing this, and it's not always. It doesn't always. Just using this piece.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, that's
then
a little, that
a
can
little
be
side to
tricky.
side. I get a little.
I cheat. I have a setup where for like 9mm, I'll take it across an indicator because I can put it upside down. I'll put an indicator on the case head there. I'll just slide it across and I'll see the indicator. We get to do those things when we have the tools.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't expect everybody to have those tools, but that's how we do it. But you can also get those tools specifically for measuring case primer depth.
Yeah.
So this looks like it might actually be a few thousandths above, if not right flush. Just make sure that you get it in there. You're going to see it about 7-8 thousandths right below flush. And you should be good. Now, the thing is, when you switch from caliber to caliber, reset all these dials. Because the dimensions are different.
Well, that's why I've got a 9mm
Yep.
head there. This will be a 223 head.
Now, I see your sizing die down there. I saw you doing a video about sizing die differences, and you had, I think, a Lee up there, and it had the straight piece of carbide, and it just basically, you get almost a bottle because it would.
It didn't size the whole.
Right, it didn't size the whole thing.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with roll sizing?
Yeah, but again, that's another whole machine. That's like $800. That's another.
I will tell you though, if you are a
another-
competitive shooter, it is so worth it.
Well,
I have not had a piece of brass not case gauge ever since I started using that.
yeah.
Because you're taking out, again, all the variables from the portion of the sizing die that you can't actually hit on your brass. You can only go down to maybe right here with your sizing die.
Yeah.
Small base, you might be getting a little closer, but the shell plate's taking up a lot of the real estate in there.
Yeah.
Roll sizing definitely is the way to go if you're going to be heavy into shooting.
And that's something we'll get there.
They have smaller machines that you can just run with a drill, and
Yeah.
they're a couple $100. But
Yeah.
Kevin's a really nice guy. Kevin Whitehead at Roll Sizer, really nice guy. He came up with that, and it's huge. So we're actually going to be coming out with a sizing die. I'm getting some test pieces of carbide. It's going to be a full length 9mm sizing die, And if we have the same success with it that we had with our ID mandrels, it should be a huge hit.
So you've got that coming out. What else do you have coming out in the future? What are your plans?
We're going to add a couple more. So since I have a Dillon machine, we've been focusing a lot on the Dillon presses. We might add some shell plate numbers. We do 1s, 3s, and 5s right now. So you got like your 308, 45 ACPs. We have plate for 9mm, 223. You know, those really high volume calibers. We have plates for those. We might be adding in a 40 Smith & Wesson plate. People have been asking us about that. We have our prime time unit that helps with the priming on the Dillon 1050s. It's a completely new priming arm.
I saw that arm.
And it allows you to use our dynamic hold down. So we'll prime at 2,800 cases per hour.
Jeez.
And it's consistent.
I don't know if my arm will go that fast.
Your shoulder will hate you. Yeah. Shoulder and elbow will hate you. But your biceps are going to be like, yeah, buddy.
Lifetime pump.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's kind of what we're focusing on right now. The sizing die for 9mm is going to be the next big one. We're going to get that out to some high volume processors and see how that works out. But again, we're going to shoot for having a tool steel nose, and it's going to be a carbide, a piece of ground carbide in there. So it's not powdered metal.
Right on. Well, I think you got some good products here.
Well, I appreciate that.
Can't wait to set them up. And like I said, your prices, you see some other stuff and it's...
One thing that a lot of people have said is if I knew what it did before I bought it, I'd happily pay double.
Yeah.
So we are still relatively unknown in the world. Like, we have our people that have been with us, and we really appreciate you guys out there. But we're still, in terms of, like, I was just at Multi-Gun Nationals about a month ago in Minnesota, in Lake Forest there.
Yeah, I think I
Forest
saw that
Lake.
interview.
Yeah, and we get people coming up there. Never heard of you guys. Never heard of you guys. I know. I get it. We're still. Our marketing is not our strong point. Manufacturing, high quality U.S. product is where we really excel.
Right on. Well,
So we actually
seem to be
added.
doing good there.
Yeah, we added on a machine. So we manufacture virtually 99% of this in Nevada here in Las Vegas. So it's a very high quality U.S. made product. We don't make the set screw.
Oh man.
But we make, yeah, I know, it's I'm done now, but we do make the adjustable popper portion. So
Well, work on getting that.
I know,
So it's
I
100%.
gotta, it's rough, man. But yeah, that's how we roll.
Well, thank you for
Absolutely,
stopping
thanks for
by
having me
and doing this.
Have me out here, Jim.
I can't wait to get these running full speed.
Yeah.
Probably 100 an hour or something.
Listen, when you're first starting out,
Yeah.
slows the game, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, I've been really happy with the machine. Now I can't wait to get these dies going.
Oh yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
again,
cool.
thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely, thanks for
Can't wait
having
to
me.
try the coffee.
It's good stuff.
And thanks for watching another one.
Remember,
So,
process, load, shoot, repeat. That's the way it gets done.
yep. It's the way you learn too, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning also.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Except
So.
be afraid of a double charge. That's a bad fail.
Yeah. Yep. That's why I got the powder checker on
Good.
that. That
Always
was
have
one of the
one of
first
those.
things.
There
so.
you go.
All right.
Very cool.
Have a good day.
See you later, guys.